Today I am harvesting my mushrooms. Yes, here they are. These are the shiitake mushrooms. They have gone ballistic. So what I'm going to do is try and show them off here, as you can see. Now, if you didn't see the video I did about a week ago, I showed you the kits that came from Merry Hill, and I had the chestnut ones and also these, the shiitake ones, Merry Hill mushrooms, if you're interested. So how did they do? Well, I can tell you, look, they've done remarkably well. And I gather what you have to do is harvest the whole lot, because you can't just keep coming back and picking them. So they're in this bag. Now, I am actually tempted to, and I think I am going to, cut the bag. I'm going to cut the bag like this. And then I can always sellotape it back together again, I'm hoping. But it might just make the harvesting process a little easier for me. Because they're all round. They're absolutely all round everywhere. And they're nice and firm. So I've got a sharpish knife. I didn't know whether to cut them with scissors or just chop them off with a knife. And I've got a colander here, which I'm going to put them in. But before I do any of that, I thought I might as well try and taste one and see what they're like. I can't remember what I think it's supposed to have a woody, earthy flavour. So let's see what happens. If I curl up and die in some horrible agonising death, 999 is the number you need. They're sort of dryish mushrooms, but they are quite flavoursome. And, well, I imagine they probably the flavour comes better, like all these things, with other things, in a casserole, in a salad, in whatever you want to put mushrooms in. I like to put my mushrooms, I think I mentioned before, in a little bit of butter and then sort of saute them. So that would be interesting. Anyway, very tasty. So I think all we have to do is cut them at the stem. And the thing about it is they just keep coming back. I'm going to have more mushrooms than I know what to do with. The other mushrooms, the chestnut mushrooms, are longer in the process of coming. There's some nice big ones here. I think you cut them right down. I guess you could pull them out, but I don't want to pull out the I don't know what the substance is. I was going to say the mud, but I don't think it is mud as such. Some of them just pull away quite easily, but we're getting them. There we are, look, there's just hundreds. Some of the bigger ones are down the bottom. So if you've got any ideas for mushroom recipes, do let me know, because I haven't really, actually some of them are just pulling off very easily. They're just coming off nicely. So there we go, how about that? Maybe I can just grab, oh, I can grab handfuls of them. That makes it, oh, blimey, look at that. That just makes it so much easier. I didn't know that. There we are. Mushrooms. Loads of them. I'll have to give some to friends and family. Yeah. There we are. Lovely. Anyway, I'll come back to the rest a little later. But that's, gosh, there's more mushrooms than you know what to do with. And I guess you've got to use them relatively quickly. That will be one of the things. You need a large number of mushroom fanciers for this. That's great. Now, you may also remember I was sent some beans, some butter beans, if you've been following my channel. At least I think I told you on this channel. It might have been in my podcast that I do, which is a behind the scenes of the YouTube creator. It's called The Naked Englishman, and it's found at nakedenglishman.co.uk. The reason it's called Naked Englishman is not because I am literally naked, but the podcast is a stripped down, behind the scenes, very simplistically recorded into a device that I carry around, and you'll hear behind the scenes. First thing in the morning, I turn it on and I do about 15 minutes or so of ramblings, talking about the projects that I've got coming up, things that I've done, so you get to know a little bit beforehand what's coming up on the channel, or you'll hear about what took a long time and what was difficult to do. It's just my own personal observations. I know sometimes it comes over as if I'm a grumpy old so-and-so. It's usually because I'm yawning, making a cup of coffee, and I've only just got up. But hey-ho. I also call it the workshop of thought, in which I try and pluck out the ideas that are in my head and put them into some coherent fashion. Anyway, you can find it on Spotify and iTunes and all the other podcast things. It's called the Naked Englishman Podcast. Anyway, I know I mentioned that I was sent this packet, 2 kilogram packet of butter beans, dried organic butter beans from China. And at first I was a bit miffed as to where they came from, because it came with an invoice, and I thought, I need to pay for these. But actually, one of my lovely viewers, Mark Burgess, over there towards the Romney Marshes, he very kindly sent them to me because he knew that I'd been collecting all sorts of other beans, the black-eyed beans, the chickpeas, the all sorts of legumes and various things. And I've been experimenting with my diet, cooking these healthy things, and he said what you haven't been able to find is butter beans. So I have tried them, and you have to again soak them, and then once you soak them you have to boil them up for a long time. Well, they are lovely things, these butter beans. I think of them as a bit like the pantomime beans from Jack and the Beanstalk, and I've actually planted a few just to see if they come up. So if one episode I come back with a hen that lays a golden egg, you'll know that these were very successful. However, the cooking of them I am not yet mastered fully, because it seems that you soak them for 24 hours and then you have to boil them for a hell of a long time and simmer them for ages. And it did seem that I was boiling them for about 2 hours until they actually got soft. Other recipes say you only need to do it for 45 minutes. Well, I don't know what kind of beans they were using, because these seem to take forever. However, once they had softened up and they become their familiar self, like you can buy in the tins, they were lovely. The advantage I have is having an Essie, a wood-burning stove, that's on. I'm not using extra gas to boil them up. They just sit on the side and they can simmer away for hours, and it's absolutely fine. So I'm very pleased with that. Now, that's that. It's February as I record this, and you may remember at the beginning of January I was inspired by something I saw on YouTube to try an experiment. Well, it's come to the end of that experiment, and that was, could I give up bread for a month? Now I have some bread here. This, by the way, is not the same loaf that appeared in the video I made at the beginning of the month. I know it looks the same, and it's pretty much the same sort of thing. The lovely Julia has given me this because I've yet to go and get any, or actually I want to make some. So she very kindly said, I've got some bread you can use for your video. I said, thanks very much. So I'm going to try a piece of bread after, well, over 30 days. What do I think about it? Did I miss it? The plain answer is I didn't really miss it, as long as I had other things that I could eat, and I was on porridge, I was eating more nuts and these legumes, plenty of salads. I mean, I've got rid of the old processed food, but I used to love having a sandwich at lunchtime. The biggest thing I suppose I did miss was toast. Toast and marmalade, toast and Marmite, toast and jam. Now, of course, marmalade and jam have sugar in, and I've tried to get rid of all the sugars as possible. However, occasionally, I think it's going to be okay to have a little bit of marmalade or a little bit of jam, as long as I don't make that every day. So that's that thing. The reason for giving up bread, if you can't remember or didn't see it, was I was worried about the wheat. Not wheat per se, because I know some people are, they don't like wheat and it affects them, and they're not into gluten and all of that sort of thing, and they look for gluten-free, which on the whole I guess is pretty good for you. But the wheat that's manufactured these days, modern wheat, that is designed more to produce larger yields, or indeed to repel pests and things like that, may be, and I'm not saying 100% may be, that the grain of wheat is designed to, as I say, produce these higher yields and resist pests and grow uniformly and all of this, rather than actually hold all the nutrients and goodness that it originally had in the heritage grains. But they were smaller and they were unreliable and they were very subjected to pests and various molds and all this sort of stuff, because they were so good for people, or had more nutrients in. So I was a bit nervous then to continue eating foods that actually have no value other than just filling you up for the sake of filling you up, but not actually giving you the minerals, the vitamins, the nutrients that we need in our bodies. So that was really commercial modern day stuff that's been played around with in the last 80 years. So I want to go back to eating wheat, but in a much smaller capacity, but with more natural and heritage grains that haven't been manipulated. But that said, I'm going to try a piece of commercially produced bread. Now, this particular loaf that Julia gave me is a mixture of wheat, spelt and rye. Now, spelt and rye, I'd like to try making my own loaves out of them because they're not wheat, you see. But I also worry that modern spelt and modern rye may well be just as manipulated as wheat has been in order to produce bigger yields and a bigger profit for the farmers. So again, I wonder if there are heritage versions of those that haven't been manipulated that I could do. But anyway, so this has a lot of less wheat in it. The other question is, do I feel any different from being off wheat? And the answer is not really. Now, I'm sure some people have noticed, perhaps if they've done this and they say, oh yes, I feel more sprightly, my skin is a lot cleaner, I can get up in the morning, I sleep longer at night. To be honest with you, I haven't noticed any difference whatsoever other than the fact that I didn't eat wheat. So I don't know what that tells me. I don't know what that tells me in terms of long term. It just tells me that clearly the wheat wasn't having that much effect on me, because I think I'm reasonably healthy anyway. But I've missed having sandwiches, a piece of bread with a bit of toast, with a bit of cheese slapped on. I think often, I nearly said often sometimes, which is a silly thing to say. I think often it's not so much the base material, it's the things you put on it. So you could have a cheese sandwich and the cheese is okay and the butter is okay and the bread is okay, but then you start putting on all these other additional things like mayonnaise or salad cream or all sorts of other things. And I think it's the same with, people have told me about, it's not baked potatoes, but it's all the extra stuff, the sort of fatty, artificially stuff that people shove on, which is actually bad for you rather than the potato. But anyway, here we go. Let's see what this is like. So I've managed to get, whilst talking to you, some butter, real butter. I don't use spreads. I don't like spreads or anything with vegetable oil or anything. It's just genuine milk that's been churned into butter, and this bread. So I'm looking forward now, actually I can smell it there, what bread tastes like once again after a month of not having it. And it's really weird. Because it's been a month, that's not really a very long time. It's the texture, I think, more than anything else. I'm getting the flavour of the bread. I'm getting the taste of the lovely creamy butter, which is lovely. I like the crunch of the crust, of course. But I don't feel, it's really weird. It's so familiar. I don't feel I've missed it. I really don't. I don't feel like, oh my goodness, bread. It just feels like, oh, I haven't had a sandwich for a couple of days and I'm having a piece of bread. Maybe if I had done this a lot longer, perhaps 6 months or a year, and then gone back to bread, I may have gone back and embraced it. It's just very, very familiar, as if, as I say, I had a sandwich a couple of days ago and I've not really, I don't feel I've really missed it. I don't feel any different. So the conclusion, I don't know really whether it was a good thing or a bad thing for me. But if you've done this experiment and tried coming off bread, have you noticed anything? Have you felt any different? Maybe the wheat doesn't react to me in the same way. No idea. As I say, I'm going to try some heritage grains and see if that makes a difference. Okay, that's that and that's that. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about in today's video, I did another experiment in which I took a week, only a week, off from looking at the comments to the videos. I get mostly 99.9% of lovely comments on the videos, and most people are very lovely. But because I make videos well, not every day, but they go out 3-4 times a week, don't they? 4 times a week. So I'm constantly making a video. There's constantly comments to answer. I also get emails. And there is that 1% of people who clearly don't like what I do. Fair enough, nobody is forcing you to like me, but they continue to watch. They either continue to put their thumbs down, which always makes me laugh, or they want to write some snidey comment. And as the channel gets bigger, of course, you get more of that 1% writing these comments. And after a while, it was getting to me, I confess. It was sort of needling me a bit. Now, over the years, I have got a bit more thick-skinned about it. But I wanted to do an experiment to see, would I really notice, what would it feel like if I didn't look at the comments at all? Because sometimes certain things can get to you and you think, look, I'm trying my best. I filmed this and I've done this. I spent 12 hours putting this thing together. I've really done my best. And then somebody says, should have done this. And you think, oh my goodness, yes, that would have been great if I had the time and energy to think of that. But I was doing everything else, all the filming, setting up the lights, the microphone, the editing and writing the script or whatever it was. And then someone just comes in and just says that, you know, a comment that you just go, oh, for goodness sake, really? So now, of course, people are entitled to think whatever they like, and I'm entitled to curate the comments. And if I really think the comments is not worthy, I can either delete them or I can kick the person off, which I sometimes do if they're rude and nasty or they put over their point rather in an aggressive way. Sometimes they do, and I just ban them, and that's the end of it. Taking a week off from time to time may be what I do, just so that I don't feel that constant pressure, A, to have to reply to everybody, because there's more of you than there is of me, and also just that little needling. A week off from the needling was very good for my mental health, and I was able to concentrate on just making the videos, which is what I love to do. So I may do more of that. So if you don't get a comment, don't take it too personally. I may be just having a bit of a break from time to time. So there we go. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget, you can help me make these videos and keep the channel going by supporting me at baldexplorer.com, maybe buying a cup of coffee a month. Just the price of that will really help me put diesel in the van, help me go out and about, help me make little purchases to try and demonstrate to you and I appreciate that very much indeed. So to all my patrons and all those people who do support me, a big, big thank you. It is very much appreciated. And to everybody who watches the videos, please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to bringing you more. Anyway, for the moment, that's it. Take care, look after yourselves, and bye-bye for now. I should finish off my bread, I think. Cheerio. I wonder if bread and mushrooms go together. That could be quite interesting. Maybe that's a new thing.